This morning we're going to talk about inserting the results of a procedure into a temp table or a table in general. I'm going to assume that you're trying to do this in a temp table. And really quickly, one thing I'll note, I'm going to assume some of you who are more experienced know how to do this. You need to make sure that ad hoc distributed queries are allowed. And if they're not, it's going to cause problems. So let's go over the syntax really fast if you're just quickly looking for an answer. Again, I'm assuming here that your ad hoc distributed queries are on. So what we're going to do is we're going to do select star into our temp table, or let's just call it temp, and we're going to do this from, and we're going to use open row set. And we will, this is going to look similar to an XML connection. For those of you who've done this on give me just a second. SSIS is a case in point. You'll notice this is going to be the local instance and then the server name. I'm sorry, this is the instance. This is the server, basically, is local. And then the instance name. And here we know it's trusted connection is yes, because I'm using myself. And then, of course, I'm going to have the database, which is client marketing. Okay, and then basically I'm going to execute the stored procedure, which in this case is going to be the stored procedure name select. Unfortunately, in this database, as a case in point, I do not actually have a stored procedure that selects data from a table. All of my stored procedures are inserts or deletes. So there's a syntax. So if you're looking quickly for the answer, you're going to use open row set. This is your connection type, basically. This is your connection string. And then you're looking at your stored procedure. For those of you who want a little bit more detail, let's say you're, okay, so what's the entire process? The first thing you want to do is you want to do stored procedure configure. So, and you want to show advanced options. Usually, depending on the company you work for, and then, of course, go reconfigure. Of course, it was already set up that way. Okay, and then you will do go, and then let's do sp configure, and now we're going to do ad hoc distributed queries. And I use these from server to server and on local instances, so this should be already set up. But let me just make sure. So we're going to run this. And so change from 1 to 1, good, and then reconfigure. Now, most cases, not always, a lot of companies I've worked at, it's 0 is the default, so you'll change it to 1. Of course, they may not give you permissions to do that, but as long as you have permissions, you'll want to run this and reconfigure, and then run this and reconfigure, and you'll have it set up. Okay, so, awesome. All right, so we have everything configured correctly, and then here's our syntax. Which is select star into temp table. Now you could select it into a table, but in this case I'm going to do a temp table, and then we will do select star from temp. Oops. And you'll have the information, the made up information. And just to prove you can actually do it to a real table. There you go. And there you go. So as just a case in point, I haven't actually ever tried it with the variable table, because usually I'll just use the temp table and then drop the table. This is the first part you want to do. Check, make sure that this is on, because if you get an error, more than likely this is where it's going to start. If you get another error, one of the things that I'll say, for instance, if I were to, let me drop these tables just to show you some errors, since it helps with troubleshooting, so that you know possibly some mistakes that you may have made. Okay, let's suppose I get rid of database client marketing. Right, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. One second. Okay. So let's suppose I decide to get rid of it, right? And it's not going to be able to find the stored procedure. Okay, so that's why I use database there. And if you have other errors pay attention to your errors, but it may relate to SQL Express. It may relate to your instance or server name. Let's see, hold on 1 second. Actually, I'm so used to C#, I think this will work actually. Yeah. In C#, when you put your strings, if you're going to do, if it has like, hold on, C, like that, and you can say drive, that's C#. Well, if you don't have that, it'll scream at you if you don't have it like that. So that's why I'm in this bad habit sometimes doing that. So, all right. So there, you can basically select into your temp table, whether it's this type of temp table or it can be a regular table, and that's the syntax. Now, understand there's other ways to do that. One of the ways, let's suppose you know the table produces just a date. I'm sorry, the stored procedure just produces a date. You could, and I've done this before, you can declare a variable table that stores date, and this just do an insert and execute the stored procedure and put it into it. And in fact, I think a previous video I may do that. But this way you can actually insert. You don't have to worry about the schema. It's going to go into the temp table regardless of whatever the results are of the stored procedure. So you don't have to build this entire table before you insert it in there. But that's a very convenient, and again, you'll find that you use this quite frequently from time to time, especially in troubleshooting. It's nice to be able to insert the results of a stored procedure into a temp table and review the temp table just to make sure you got the right results.